The State Capture Commission of Inquiry continues today with more parliamentary oversight-related evidence. Justice Portfolio Committee member James Self is on the stand. Let's take you live there.
Come back to finish. It won't involve traveling. Maybe it shouldn't be a problem if we adjourn now. And then on Thursday morning, we start with him and finish before the next witness.
I'm not personally against that at all, but I know that Mr. Self has told me in the past he has certain scheduling problems on Thursday. Is there any possibility, Mr. Self?
Is that so? Well, because you are committed on Thursday. The whole day, or there could be some time early in the morning. I'm thinking Mr. Freund was saying 10 minutes. If we take more than 10 minutes, it certainly should not be more than 30. And maybe early in the morning.
I have, Chairperson, a meeting starts at 7 o'clock on Thursday, followed by one that starts at 8 o'clock. It's actually quite difficult.
And then for the rest of the day, you are committed.
That is so.
Did you
Mr.
know?
Self, would you be able to start?
Sorry?
What I was asking, Chair, sorry to have interrupted, is whether you would be available on Friday.
Yes, I could be available on Friday.
Yes. Okay, maybe let's do that. Let's look at a Friday then, where we can just slot you in for really a very short time. But I just want us to explore some of the issues on which you obviously have views. You have been in Parliament for quite some time. You know how Parliament works and so on. So if that would be fine, I think we could talk on Thursday, Mr. Freund, to say what time Mr. Self could make himself available on Friday, depending on his situation as well.
Yes, Chair, that would be certainly in order with me.
Yeah.
Chair, can I just inquire as to what time you would like to start on Thursday morning?
Let's start at 10 o'clock on Thursday, but I'll be prepared to sit until quite late and into the evening to try and cover as much as possible. But I do know that there is a witness who was going to come who is not well enough to come. So if you indicate that there is no need to sit until late into the evening on Thursday because there is enough time on Friday, I will be flexible. So for both on Thursday and on Friday, I will be wishing us to do as much as we can.
Good.
Yeah. Okay, we are going to adjourn then the proceedings for today. And as I said earlier on, just for the public, there'll be no hearing tomorrow, but on Thursday we will continue. We adjourn.
The State Capture Commission of Inquiry adjourns for the day. Today they were looking into parliamentary evidence oversight, and that is what they've been looking at over the past few days. We did see Ms. Zukiswa Ranto, who was giving evidence a bit earlier on today. James Self's evidence now coming to an end. There was also an expectation for Makosi Khoza to come and give evidence today, and we did hear from the Deputy Chief Justice that perhaps she's not very well today and therefore was unable to come in and give her evidence. There will be No state capture commission tomorrow, but it will resume the day after. Our reporter Pelane has been following those proceedings really closely. We'll touch base with him in just a moment as he gives us a wrap-up of what the State Capture Commission of Inquiry was about today, as well as some of the key evidence that was given. Now, divisions within the African National Congress, the parliamentary caucus in the 5th Parliament, have been laid bare at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry. The former chairperson of the Portfolio Committee on Public Enterprises, Zukiswa Ranto, revealed the presence of two different groups in the ANC caucus. One group was for the establishment of an inquiry into probe allegations of corruption at state-owned enterprises, while another was against the existence of that inquiry. Now, those against the inquiry said such an inquiry would dent the image of the African National Congress if revelations of wrongdoing were indeed brought up in the open. Ranto says leading the committee's inquiry into corruption allegations back in 2018 brought threats on the well-being of her family. Let's listen in.
We were living in fear. But when I informed the National Assembly Speaker about the intimidations, there was a follow-up by the security personnel to come and look at the risk of me being intimidated if I would not be able to, those people would not be able to maybe to do something worse to me or to my family. We were not given we were not assigned to a real security or to a security personnel that will always be next to me or next to my house. But there were people who were looking from afar what was happening in my house and with my family. We accepted the situation, and I was encouraged within the family that I cannot stop doing what I am doing. Let me go forward. If there is a need of me to get help, I will get help, but I will be healed in the running in the future because I would have done the correct thing.
For more on what has been transpiring at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry, we're joined by our reporter Pelane, who's been following those proceedings really closely. Pelane, good to have you with us today.
Definitely, good to have you.
So what have been the highlights from the testimony from Ms. Ranto today?
Well, Zukiswa Ranto was very clear that she believes that she was doing the right thing as already told by the ANC chief whip at the time, Jackson Mutembu, that she must do what she has been employed to do as a member of parliament to go ahead with a parliamentary inquiry into allegations of corruption in state-owned enterprises, and that in that particular setting, as the Bite has already been explaining, that she felt that her family was being threatened in the process, and she also felt that there was a lot of threats to her, particularly in doing her job. But all that is revelations to the fact that she says that she had been working and also made sure that she heard within the African National Congress in itself, having been literally divided in about groups where people were for the inquiry and others were against the inquiry. And in that sense, that created a little bit of tension in itself. There were people who wanted to protect the image of the ANC and the ANC caucus in itself by all means necessary, and that an inquiry into allegations of corruption within state-owned enterprises might implicate some of those ANC officials and in turn, of course, cause about divisions. So that is what she has revealed, quite a revelation to be exact, about the ruling party in government, in parliament, to say having, going into divisions along whether there should be an inquiry that will be testing the allegations that there are, corrupt means within state-owned enterprises.
So this is not even a deliberation of outcomes of an inquiry.
Yes.
It's literally deliberations about the establishment of such
definitely.
and whether or not it should even start.
Yes. That is correct, and she went into lengths as well to describe the functions of the Portfolio Committee on Public Enterprises, about the oversight role that they are meant to perform as members of Parliament. And I found something very interesting leading to the chairperson of the former chairperson of standing committees, Scopa, that is at Phakgadi yesterday, saying that it so seemed that each and every single year, over the 14 years that he has been the chairperson, that every parliament term when it begins, that there is going to be a new member into the Scopa committee that comes through, and he would be the only person who will be carried forth into the new parliament, giving you an indication that when he said that when people went against the wishes of the party to want accountability from some members of parliament, it so seemed that they were not in favor to return to parliament. And we've seen here with Zungisa saying very much, Ranto, saying very much that she was not elected back into parliament in 2019.
And Phakgadi really spoke about the very high turnover and the fact that Vincent Smith was one of the very few who would actually remain, and that institutional knowledge was then lost in the committees, and no real progress would be made, because then each committee, because the members are new, pretty much had to go back to the drawing board, and therefore that also must have caused a level of frustration as well.
Yeah, it caused a level of frustration, so it seems, and around to painting a picture that it is also going back to Godi's statement yesterday, that it was a political will. If there was no political will to deal with certain issues, then it made it a little bit difficult to find people to account, to hold people to account to allegations of corruption, on whether they can even test them in the first place, because some politicians would figure it that it might taint the image of their certain party in another way if there is an oversight meeting that is carried out. And also what I think I found interesting is towards the 2016 local government elections, she painted a picture that there was little oversight that was done because parliamentarians were busy canvassing for the election at the local government time, and that gave us an indication that there was little work of oversight, and there was people who were hardly ever in parliament to come through and deliberate on issues of importance, such as allegations or Gupta-linked allegations that they were linked to the hiring of some top executives in the politics arena, particularly in government, be it ministers. And she was just saying that we heard about the allegations, but we never really had enough time to deliberate on them within the committee.
From her testimony, does one come off with a sense of parliamentary oversight being just a phrase that exists because, by statute it has to be there, by law and regulation it's a structure that needs to be put in place, but it really had no practical manifestation, no practical application within Parliament?
Well, it gives you a sense over the last few days when talking about accountability and the role of Parliament in oversight. We're seeing a lot of portfolio committee members and chairpersons being interviewed at the Commission currently. It gives you that indication that there is work being done by parliamentarians, and there are reports written and inquiries that are held, but then at the time where there needs to be action, then there is where the legs are dragged a little bit. And that is because the law, some of the reports are either tainting the politicians directly or might taint the image of that particular political party. So that is the image that I got a sense of from yesterday, as Godi was giving us a picture as the standing committee's chairperson, and as well as today from Zungisa Ranto, giving us that in her sense in the public enterprises committee, it so much meant that there were some indicators where problems or allegations were brought forth, but were set aside simply because perhaps the parliamentarians and laws did not allow them to go and engage in them. So giving you that drawing, Tammy, that it brought about a lot of interactions within parliamentarians itself, and what teeth do they have to bite?
Now, we actually just went back to the State Capture Commission towards the end where James Self was the tail end of his evidence. We literally got nothing of that. We did see that the Deputy Chief Justice did wrap up for the day. A really quick summary of James Self's evidence and as well as the reasons why it had to adjourn for this afternoon.
Well, definitely. I think tomorrow they are not sitting, and they will be sitting again on Thursday. We do expect that former ANC MP Makosi Khoza will be one of the people that comes through as well to testify, and she was very instrumental and part of the portfolio committees. Then I think some revelations then, no longer as an ANC member, will give us an insight as to what was happening within the caucus, and as a chairperson at the time, what role did she play? But nevertheless, James Self himself, as a member of the portfolio committee, also was giving an indication today on the correctional services side and justice and how not per se the ANC in itself, but as well as parliamentarians were given roles within the committee in itself, and how they couldn't really exercise their oversight roles on some activities. And so he was making a call as well just towards the end that there should be some sort of a mechanism overlooking the chairpersons of committees where they can appeal to if the matters are not being heard.
And
yes,
being resolved.
And then they're hoping, yes, in that manner, that if that happens, I mean, it's a call from even though it is one of the minority parties.
Oversight and oversight.
There's a lot of oversight, and ministers
There's a lot of oversight. So everybody oversighting and looking over everybody else.
Definitely.
Pelane, thank you so much for that roundup. That's our Pelane Phakgadi, who's looking at the State Capture Commission of Inquiry very closely. You've got a day off tomorrow.
I hope.
Well, at least for the State Capture Commission. And that will be back once again on Thursday with Makosi Khoza expected to give evidence.